Yeah, next up we have Xuechao Wang from UIUC presenting on the security analysis of Filecoin's expected consensus in the Byzantine versus honest model. So let's give it up for Xuechao.
Yes, thanks, Patrick. Good morning, everyone. My name is Xuechao Wang. I'm right now a faculty member at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So today, the title of my talk is Security Analysis of Filecoin's Expected Consensus in the Byzantine versus honest model. So this work was done when I worked at the Protocol Labs last year, and this is a joint work with Sarah and Marko. Okay, let's get started. So Filecoin is currently the largest storage-based blockchain in terms of both storage capacity and market cap. So in Filecoin, the storage miner gains the right to participate in the consensus protocol and propose the Filecoin blocks by pledging their storage capacity in the Filecoin blockchain. And whenever their blocks are included on chain, then the miners are in return compensated with the underlying cryptocurrency Filecoin. So Filecoin uses this so-called storage power consensus, which mainly consists of two components. The first one is a simple resistance mechanism called proof of storage that keeps an accurate table of the storage power pledged by each storage miners. And the second component is a consensus protocol called expected consensus. So this consensus protocol is run by any set of weighted participants who are weighted by their storage, and then the outputs an ordered list of transactions. So basically a blockchain ledger. And the focus of this talk is to attack and analyze the Filecoin's mainnet consensus, expected consensus. Okay, so almost usually like every consensus protocol needs a leader election mechanism. So Filecoin also has one. So Filecoin uses this DRAND, which is a decentralized public random beacon. And this DRAND beacon generates a random number for every 30 seconds. So basically this is one epoch in Filecoin. And then we use a VRF, verifiable random function, to do the leader election. So when the VRF output is less than a certain target, and then the miner will be elected as a leader, and he will be able to propose one block in that epoch. And here the target in this equality is such that there are expectation there are 5 leaders per epoch. And this is why the consensus protocol is called expected consensus. And so because now we have like many leaders and multiple blocks in one epoch, so now the blockchain is actually not a chain, but it's actually a DAG, or directed acyclic graph. So Filecoin introduces the notion of tip sets. It allows multiple blocks in each height of the block tree. So we call a set of blocks a tip set if they share the same block height, or if they are proposed in the same epoch, and at the same time if they have the same parent tip set. For example, let's take a look at this simple DAG on these slides. So first we have a genesis block, and in the epoch 1 we have 3 blocks. They all have the genesis block as the parent block. So now block A, B, C, they form a tip set. And then in the second epoch, the block D and block E, they all have the block A, B, C as their parent tip set. So block D and E will be a tip set. And for the same reason, in the third epoch, we have block F, G, and H. They will form a tip set. So we have seen that the blockchain in EC is actually a chain of tip sets instead of a chain of blocks. So for the fork choice rule, EC adopts the heaviest chain instead of the longest chain, like in Bitcoin. So in the heaviest chain, we will count the number of blocks in the blockchain as the weight of the chain. So let's take a look at these slightly more complex DAGs on these slides. So again, we have so here we have many tip sites. So here the block A, B, C, and all is subsets. They will form a tip set because they all have the genesis block as the parent. And then we have block D and E, and also subset of this set as a tip set because their parent tip set is block A and B, and then block F itself will be a tip set. So we actually have we can find the two chains of tip sets in this stack. The first one is start with the Genesis block, and then we have block A and B in the first epoch, and then block D and E in the second epoch. And for the second chain of tip set, we have the Genesis block, block A, B, C, and then block F. And if we count the number of blocks in these two chains, then we can find that actually both of them have 5 blocks. So we need a tie-breaking rule here. And in this work, we made a simple assumption that the tie breaking is in favor of the adversary. So this is kind of like a standard assumption in blockchain. And this only makes the adversary stronger. Okay, so now you may ask why easy and what is the logic of having such a complex blockchain structure, having the notion of tip sets. So maybe the first advantage we can think of is that this tip sets allows multiple blocks in one epoch, will make miners to be elected more often. So this means less variance in the mining process. And just record that in Bitcoin, the Bitcoin miners, they will join the mining pool to fight with the mining variance. And maybe another advantage of EC is that private attack is harder in EC. Basically, this is the same intuition as in Ghost, another variant of the Nakamoto consensus. So remember that in Ghost, Ghost is proposed against the private attack. It claims that it has like 50% security, no matter how fast the block rate is. So for EC, we can expect the same result as like if we are facing a private attack, then all the honest blocks mined in the public blockchain will count it towards the weight of this block tree. And so as long as the weight of this public block tree grows faster than the weight of the private adversarial chain, then the private attack will not succeed. However, having the tip sets also, maybe it can also enable a larger attack space. Just again, remember the lesson from Ghost that although Ghost is secure against the private attack, later we found that it's not secure against another attack called a balance attack. So here we may have to worry about the same issue for EC. So indeed, I will show you a couple of example attacks to see the attack space here. So the first one is the private attack with a head start. So here in this example, the adversarial blocks are marked as the red blocks, and the honest blocks are marked as the green blocks. So again, we have two chains of tip sets here. The first one ends at the adversarial block H. So it has tip set A, B, C, D, and then block E and block H. And the second chain of tip set here is the honest blockchain. It ends at the honest block I, and basically it forms of all the honest blocks, all the green blocks. So it's block C, block D, and block F, G, and then block I. And we can see that in this example, the attacker actually mines like one less block than the honest node, but the attack will by this private attack with head start will still succeed because here we have the honest blocks C and D. They are shared by both blockchains, and so we see that this attack succeeds even if the adversary mines few blocks, because the adversary can like take advantage or leverage some blocks mined by the honest blocks. This allowing the adversary to gain some unfair advantage. And another example is the balance attack. So essentially, EC is actually a proof of stake protocol, assuming we already have a power table. So just like in many other proof of stake protocols, the adversary can actually equivocate in this blockchain. So here we have like 3 blocks, B1, B2, B3. They basically have the same like winning ticket from the leader election process, or you can see, or they may have the same block header but different block content. And in this way, like by broadcasting three equivocating blocks, the adversary can split the honest power into three different groups. So the honest node will work on different tip set, and so there are always many chains of equal weights in this example. So the weight of different blockchains are always balanced, and none of these blockchains can be stabilized or confirmed. So, okay, indeed. So the security analysis of EC seems very challenging because of this complex attack space introduced by the complex blockchain structure. So indeed, despite the EC having been proposed many years ago, so no formal security analysis was conducted before I worked at Protocol Labs, and in this work, we actually proved the security of EC by extending the proof technique from one of my previous papers. It has a cute name that everything is a race and Nakamoto always wins. And I will skip the technical details here because of the time limit. So, and I will directly give you the main result in our paper is that we show that EC is actually secure if this inequality holds. So basically 1 minus e to the power of minus 1 minus beta m is larger than beta m. So here in this inequality, the left-hand side is the minimal honest chain growth per epoch, and which equals to the probability that the honest nodes mines at least one block in one epoch. And the right-hand side is basically the adversarial mining power, or the expected number of blocks mined by the adversary. Okay, so some notation here, like beta is the adversarial storage fraction or the adversarial power, and m is just the expected number of blocks per epoch. And currently, you see the parameter in EC is 5. So actually, we found that this security threshold we derived from last slides is actually also tight because we can find an attack that have the same security threshold. So let's take a look at this unsplit attack, so which is an extension of the balance attack. So in this attack, the attacker will try to split the honest participants as much as possible, perhaps among n blockchains. So here, n can just be the number of honest participants. So to make sure that every honest node they are working on different tip set. So in this way, the blockchain will, the weight of the blockchain will only grow at most 1 per epoch. So the growth rate of the heaviest chain in this stack will be exactly the minimum honest chain growth we have seen in the last slides. And simultaneously, the adversary can create a separate blockchain, separate private blockchain, utilizing all its blocks by equivocating with those blocks. So in this way, the adversarial private blockchain will indeed grow with the adversarial power fraction, that is beta m. So we can see that this attack will succeed if this inequality holds. So basically the same as the one I showed on the last slides. So combining these two results, we have found the necessary and the sufficient condition for EC security, and it's given by this inequality. And currently for the parameter m equals to 5 in EC, the security threshold or the fault tolerance of EC is currently 0.196. Is not ideal, but it's better than nothing. And if we set m equals to 5, then EC almost becomes the longest chain protocol, and the security threshold becomes 0.433. And approximately for large m, beta is about 1 over m. And we have seen that the security threshold of EC currently is not ideal. It's just about 0.2. It's much less than the honest majority assumption in many other blockchains. So we also proposed a couple of mitigations in this work to the unsplit attack. The first one is simply replace EC by LC. Although this is simple, but it still requires a hard fork in the Filecoin software client. And another mitigation is to add a consistent or reliable broadcast to prevent equivocation. So this one is backward compatible, so it only requires a soft fork. So this the second approach is currently adopted by the Filecoin team. So at a high level of this improvement proposal is that we can see that the unsplit attack or the balance attack I showed previously is not possible if we have the if we can prevent the adversary from equivocating. And this is the original implementation of Filecoin client. So basically in the middle of epoch, we have a cutoff time. That is, after this cutoff time, all the honest miners, all the honest participants, they will not accept any more blocks. But this actually gives the chance of doing equivocation attack, because the adversary can just equivocate like many different blocks right before this cutoff time. So in this way, like different honest nodes may receive the equivocating blocks in different order, so they may accept different blocks. So we have a simple mitigation to these problems. It's just we can simply add another cutoff time, and then all the honest nodes should abort or should discard all those equivocating blocks before this second cutoff of time. So this is equivalent to a consistent broadcast, like because we are in a peer-to-peer network. So every honest node will forward the blocks to other peers, and this makes sure that between the interval in the interval of this cutoff 1 and this cutoff 2, the equivocating blocks were not accepted by the honest participants. So this improvement proposal has recently been merged into the Filecoin, into the Lotus Filecoin clients. And however, like currently we don't have a formal security analysis for this proposal yet. That is, EC with consistent broadcast is not sure that whether a proof of stake protocol with consistent broadcast will equivalent to a proof of work, which like the adversary cannot equivocate at all. So as a summary, like this work gives a tight security threshold for EC, and currently the protocol has about a 20% security threshold. And there remains some future works like a formal security analysis for the improvement proposal currently implemented in Filecoin. And another future work is that this work considers the classic model of owning honest versus malicious or Byzantine participants, and does not address the rationality of the participants. So a formal analysis on a formal study of the incentive compatibility of EC is another important problem for understanding the security of EC. And maybe another future work is to relax some simplifying assumptions, such as the lockstep synchronous model we adopted in this paper, and maybe consider some more realistic tie-breaking rules instead of always favors the adversary, and maybe also consider an adaptive adversary instead of assuming a static power table. Okay, so I guess that concludes my presentation today. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? I think the point about switching to the longest chain model is interesting, because I think early on, one of the goals of the tip set, or aspirationally, was to increase throughput by allowing multiple blocks per epoch. It's interesting that obviously it's pretty complicated to reconcile that with some of the security analysis you need to do. Yeah, anyone have a question? Yeah, sure. Let me give you I messed this up last time.
So great talk, thank you. Is the left-hand side here 1 minus e to the minus 1 minus beta m? Is this the growth rate of this fictitious honest chain? And if so, could you elaborate on the intuition why it looks the way it is? Because it looks like it is the probability that you will have at most 1 block per epoch there. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the left-hand side is actually like the worst case honest chain growth, assuming a canonical honest chain like without any adversarial blocks. And yeah, I skip a little bit technical details here. Is like Filecoin, they have a Poisson model, like the mining process is like Poisson. So this is exactly the probability that there's at least one blocks in for a Poisson random variable. And the intuition for that, why we can only use the worst case chain growth here is that we actually have the worst case attack, that is the n-split attack, which will make sure that the chain will indeed only grow at most one per epoch.
Great, thanks. Let's give it up for Xuechao.